It is arguably the biggest 3 weeks in American sports. The NCAA tournament tips off this Thursday, and while millions of fans will be filling out office pools, millions more will be placing bets on phones, laptops, and tablets all across America. It is estimated that $3.3 billion will be waged on tournament games across American sports books. Once a fringe cultural, sports betting has now grown into an all-consuming part of American athletics. It has also led to a rise in gambling addiction, online harassment of athletes, and betting scandals. Atlantic writer McKay Coppins recently spent a year betting on sports as an experiment to cover the pitfalls of the growing sports betting industry. Joining us now is staff writer for The Atlantic, McKay Coppins. He's also an MS Now contributor. McKay, it's great to have you on the show. So give me your big takeaway. How did this experience change your perspective on the dangers of sports betting and how widespread you think this is?
Well, I went into the experiment as kind of a journalistic stunt. I mean, I'll be honest, right? I thought this would be a gimmick for a magazine story as a way to kind of talk about how quickly and extensively the gambling industry has taken over American sports, certainly, but also culture and other facets of American life. I was surprised, though, by how quickly it came to kind of consume my life, right? These apps are incredibly addictive. They're incredibly compulsive. They are designed to keep you kind of tapping and scrolling and betting and gambling in a hypnotic stupor. And I came away really honestly convinced that this industry is much more predatory than people realize. And we are in the midst, probably just at the beginning stages of a public health crisis that we have not yet wrapped our arms around.
What makes it so predatory? What have you noticed about it, or how did you find yourself getting drawn into it, going deeper and deeper?
Well, I mean, first of all, just, one thing you have to understand about sports betting is that if you are good at it, and I should note that only about 2% of gamblers actually make money gambling. The vast majority end up losing money. But if you are in the group that does make money, the sports books kick you off the platforms, right? So they know what they're doing. They also know that if you go a few days without gambling, they will offer you reload bonuses or no sweat bets, basically ways to lure you back onto the apps and keep you there as long as possible. You talk to gambling addiction experts and they will say that only 3 to 5% of gamblers will actually end up qualifying as gambling addicts. But with the rise and omnipresence of these online sports books, we have created tens of millions of new gamblers almost overnight, which means that the number of new gambling addicts is going to be very striking in the coming years.
McKay, did all of this change your relationship to the sports, the games that you enjoy?
It really did, in ways that are kind of unfortunate. I first noticed around Thanksgiving. I went down to Florida. The typical sports betting apps that I use weren't working down there. And I found, kind of to my alarm, that I couldn't pay attention to the games that I didn't have money on. Like, I needed to have some action on the game to care about it. I also found that I was increasingly conspiratorial in my thinking about games, right? Like, if a bet wouldn't go my way, I would find myself wondering, did the refs have money on it? Did some player or coach have money on it to throw the game? And that idea, I'm not normally prone to paranoid thinking. That paranoid thinking is endemic in the gambling community. And it actually poses, I think, a real existential risk to professional sports.
McKay, I believe you're a devout Mormon, and your church generally forbids gambling. And I understand you got some special dispensation or blessing from a Mormon bishop to participate on this reporting project, this gonzo journalism. Could you talk a little bit about what that conversation was like, or how maybe you thought about, you now think about the prohibitions on gambling as they relate to your faith?
Yeah, I had always grown up being taught that gambling was bad. You shouldn't do it. It was one of many vices I don't partake in. In this particular case, the editors at The Atlantic, knowing that I had certain religious constraints, offered me $10,000 of my employer's money to gamble with. So they reasoned, God would be okay with it because it's not your money. I brought that idea to my bishop, who I think recognized the theory of it, but was also very concerned about me because he had known so many people whose lives had been derailed by gambling. And he told me to be careful. And what I'll tell you is, when he told me that, I kind of rolled my eyes a little bit. I was like, this is just a journalism thing. It's an exercise. It's not going to really bleed into my life. I was wrong. It bled into my personal life pretty dramatically in ways that I write about in the piece. And I think if anything, I've come away with the recognition that my church is only one of many, many religious traditions, philosophical traditions over the course of human history that have arrived at the same conclusion, which is that gambling is soul-rotting and civilizationally ruinous. And it's really only in the last decade that America seems to have unlearned that lesson. And I think we need to get back to that consensus.